Welcome back to Chat Like a Native. Today we're gonna do a deep dive into something you might not expect.
No.
It's how shopping can actually help you on your way to becoming fluent in English.
Yeah, that's right. It might seem a little surprising at first,
It does.
but think about it. When you're shopping, you're immersed in real situations
Right.
where you absolutely need to use English.
Yeah, so instead of like sitting down with a textbook, you're out in the world
Yeah,
and you're really using the language.
exactly.
I think the science behind this is pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about how using English in the real world like this actually helps you learn a language?
Sure. Just imagine like the pressure of needing to communicate right then and there when you're shopping.
Oh, yeah.
That pressure, it actually makes different parts of your brain like switch on.
Interesting.
Makes you more alert and more receptive to the language.
Oh, wow.
This helps you learn and remember things better
Yeah.
compared to just like memorizing a bunch of words from a list.
Yeah, it's like the difference between reading about swimming
Yeah,
and then actually jumping in the pool.
that's a good way to put it.
You learn by doing.
Totally.
I know when I first started learning a new language,
Uh-huh.
I would just freeze up in real situations.
Oh, yeah.
But then
I can imagine.
the more I just pushed myself to speak,
Yeah,
the more confident I got.
that's exactly it. And shopping, it gives you a pretty low stakes environment to practice.
Right.
It's not like giving a big presentation or leading a meeting or anything.
Right.
You're just talking with people, doing like everyday stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, when you find a great deal or buy something you really love, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
And that can actually make learning more enjoyable.
It's like sneaking in a little language lesson while
Uh-huh.
you're having fun.
Exactly.
So now let's talk about some practical tips.
Okay.
Our source material highlights some must-know phrases for shoppers. One that I thought was really helpful was, "I'm just looking, thank you."
Oh, yeah.
It's a polite way to let the salesperson know
Yeah.
you're not ready to buy just yet.
Yeah, it's a great way to avoid feeling pressured, especially when you're, still getting comfortable with the language. Another really good phrase is, do you have this in another size or color?
Oh, that's a good one.
Essential when you're like looking through all the clothes.
Right. Speaking of clothes,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking, wouldn't you learn a lot of specialized vocabulary?
Right.
Like fabric or fit or style words you wouldn't really see in a regular English textbook.
Exactly. And beyond the actual words themselves, you also pick up on like the little nuances
Yeah.
of how those words are used, in different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might learn how to describe different types of fits,
Oh,
like
yeah.
loose or snug or tailored,
Yeah.
which can be pretty subtle differences.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much you can pick up just by paying attention to these little everyday things.
Right.
Okay, of course we can't forget the most important question.
Yeah.
Is this on sale?
Oh, that's a good one. Everyone loves a bargain.
Yeah, of course. But beyond just these like practical phrases, I'm curious about the cultural stuff.
Okay.
Our source mentioned that politeness is really important.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Sure. Politeness is super important in any language, but it's especially important when you're shopping.
Right.
Using phrases like, excuse me, or could you help me, or just a simple thank you
Yeah.
shows respect
Right.
and can really make shopping a much better experience.
It's all about building a good connection
Yeah,
with the people you're interacting with.
exactly.
And speaking of adding a bit more personality to your English,
Uh-huh.
our source had some fun idioms about shopping.
Oh, cool.
Have you ever heard the expression shop till you drop?
Oh, absolutely. It's like,
What does it mean to you?
it's that feeling of like going on a huge shopping spree and buying so much that you're just totally exhausted by the end.
Right.
But it's a good kind of exhaustion though, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's that feeling of, I got everything on my list.
Yeah.
I found some really cool things I didn't even know I wanted.
Exactly.
And then there's impulse buy,
Oh,
that sudden urge to just grab something that you
Yeah.
hadn't planned on getting.
We've all done that, haven't we?
Yeah, we all have.
And sometimes you just need a little retail therapy.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how like a little bit of shopping can make you feel so much better.
But these idioms are more than just fun little sayings. They give you a peek into the culture
Yeah.
and how native English speakers use language in kind of a playful way.
It's like you're unlocking a secret code
Yeah.
that helps you understand the humor and the nuances of the language.
It's all those little details
Yeah.
that can really make your English sound more natural and fluent.
I agree. It's true. Those small details can really help you take your skills to a whole other level.
Oh, for sure.
But it's not all about idioms and vocabulary. It's
Oh.
about understanding the context, too, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like when and how to use them.
Uh-huh.
Shopping is a great way to see that in action in the real world.
Yeah, it's like a real live textbook.
Exactly.
Now, our source suggests a few shopping exercises
Okay.
to kind of help put all this learning into practice.
Awesome.
One idea is to like role play some shopping scenarios with a friend.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That way you can get comfortable having those conversations without the pressure of actually spending money, you know?
Right. Yeah.
You can practice asking questions, asking for help,
Uh-huh.
even like haggling over prices,
Yeah.
all in a safe and fun way.
I bet it could get pretty competitive
Oh, yeah.
if you're both trying to get the best deal.
For sure.
But I can see how it would definitely build confidence and fluency. Our source also mentions browsing English language shopping websites.
Yeah,
Is another good exercise.
that's a good one. It's a great way to learn about different products,
Uh-huh.
read reviews,
Right.
and see how customer service works,
Yeah.
all in written English.
And you get to explore different brands
Ah.
and products from other English-speaking countries, too.
Exactly. You're learning about the culture, too.
It's like expanding your horizons.
Absolutely.
And maybe even doing a little retail therapy while you're at it.
A little bit, yeah.
Now, for those who are ready to go out into the real world,
Yeah.
our source recommends visiting local markets
Yes.
and actually interacting with the vendors.
That's where you really put everything you've learned to the test.
It is, yeah.
From listening to speaking,
Mhm.
even like your body language.
I can see how that could be a little intimidating at first,
I can imagine.
especially for someone who's still building their confidence.
Right.
Do you have any advice for our listeners
Sure.
who might be feeling a little hesitant?
Okay, well, first of all,
Yeah.
remember that everyone makes mistakes when they're learning a language.
Oh, of
It's totally normal.
Yeah.
Most native English speakers are pretty understanding, you know?
Yeah.
And they appreciate that you're making an effort.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
And I think it's also important to remember that shopping should be fun.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Don't put too much pressure on yourself
Yeah.
to like get everything right.
Just relax and have fun with it. Let yourself learn naturally.
Totally. The more you relax and enjoy the experience,
Mhm.
the more you'll learn.
For sure. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Right.
Most vendors are more than happy to help.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
It's all about being proactive
Mm-hmm.
and using every opportunity to learn.
Exactly.
So we've talked a lot about the active side of things, like
Yeah.
speaking, practicing phrases,
Yeah.
talking to people.
Right.
But I think it's also really important to talk about listening.
Uh-huh.
How does shopping help you improve that skill?
Well, listening is super important for learning a language,
Yeah.
but it's often overlooked.
I agree.
It's really the foundation for everything else.
right.
Shopping gives you a fantastic chance to practice listening in a real environment.
Yeah, because you're surrounded by English,
Yeah, exactly.
like conversations, announcements,
Mhm.
people interacting.
It's like a constant listening test,
Right.
but with different accents and ways of speaking.
And different vocabulary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not just about passively listening, you know?
Right.
You can actively engage with what you're hearing.
What do you mean?
Like, pay attention to how people are pronouncing words,
Okay.
the intonation they use, the rhythm of their speech.
Those little things can really change the meaning.
Yeah, they can.
It's like listening for the music of a language.
It really is. And the more you pay attention to these things, the better your comprehension will get.
I can see that.
Don't worry if you don't understand every single word right away.
Right.
The more you listen,
Mhm.
the more your brain will start to pick up on the patterns
Right.
and make connections.
Yeah, it's like you're training your ears to become like finely tuned instruments
Uh,
that can pick up all those subtle sounds in English.
right.
And, instead of making music,
Yeah.
you're making fluent conversations.
That's a really good way to think about it. And just like learning a musical instrument,
Yeah.
it takes practice
Uh-huh.
and patience.
Right. The key is to really make listening an active part of your language learning.
I agree.
So today in our deep dive,
Uh-huh.
we've learned that shopping,
Yeah.
it's not just about buying things.
Right.
It's actually a really great way to become more fluent in English.
Exactly. We talked about how shopping gives you that real world context,
Yeah.
helps you learn new vocabulary,
Uh-huh.
and it even like immerses you in the culture.
Yeah. Right. We discussed some essential shopping phrases,
Yeah.
learned about some fun idioms, and talked about the importance of both speaking and listening.
Exactly. And we gave you some practical exercises
Right.
to help you put all of this into practice.
Yeah, from role-playing to browsing websites
Yay.
to actually going out to local markets.
I hope our listeners will give them a try.
So what's the main takeaway for everyone listening today?
Well, I think the most important thing is to remember that English is all around you.
It is, yeah.
Just waiting for you to discover it. So don't just stick to textbooks.
Right.
Look for chances to use English in your everyday life.
Yeah, even in places you wouldn't expect.
Exactly, like the shopping mall.
Now, before we go,
Yeah.
we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay, good.
What other everyday things could be secretly helping you learn English?
That's a good question. Think about the things you like to do.
Right, your hobbies.
Yeah.
Cooking.
Playing sports, listening to music,
Right.
exploring a new city.
All those things use language in some way.
Yeah, they do. So be creative. Use those things to help you learn.
So get out there
Yeah.
and happy shopping.
And happy learning.